It's 29 degrees here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Well, it's going to get to a sweltering 35 degrees much later, yes, in the afternoon. Thank you for staying with us this morning. Welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. We're giving you more than enough with our all-female crew this morning. I'm Maokpe Yusuf.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Kayla Megwa. And it's like there was a spiritual memo said today.
All the ladies.
I want to see what INEC is wearing. I don't know what's going to be happening with business, but we're all dressed in red and it wasn't planned. We all just showed up.
You know, maybe she stimulated it because I remember that she was wearing it red just yesterday. So who knows? Maybe somehow she put it in our
It's possible. It's possible that INEC is to blame.
I'm wearing it, and then you are wearing it. I don't know. Maybe who knows? She might just continue today. But hey, it's Sunrise Daily now, and we're taking you all the way to Ikogosi in Ekiti State, where I understand it's about 27 degrees this morning. Quite a bit of mystery and myth around it, but plenty of beauty as well. So do you want to take a look at that skyline? Yes, you can see it now. And one of the things that makes this really lovely. It's not just that you can admire the nature around it. It's now that a whole resort has now been built around this particular sight and sound which you might want to explore. It might be difficult to see from the aerial view, but certainly you can admire the greenery. But there is a spring right underneath these bushes, this lush forest, which runs both hot and cold water side by side. Both springs gushing side by side, meeting at some point, but never mixing. Isn't that amazing?
It's fantastic. It's beautiful. And strange.
That's what nature does, right?
Yes. You know, one of the beautiful things about nature is how humbling it is. Mm-hmm. It is a very humbling experience. You should go to Good morning, Ekiti. You should go to Ekiti and actually go to this place. If you have high risk appetite like me, you can drink from both, because that's what some of us did. When we went there, we took from both and drank it, even though they said we shouldn't, but we did anyway. But you see, it's a beautiful...
Why wouldn't you want to drink it though?
Well, there's a lot of mysticism around this place. You know, even in the 50s, at the time when there was a missionary who was trying to get to the source of the spring. You know, he was discouraged. He was told not to do it, but he went ahead. Faced some issues during the Civil War as well. You know, where people were against the fact that they were trying to build missions around this place. But you see, all of that is in the past. You can read up on the history of Ikogosi. But you see, this resort and the way the Ekiti State government really has done what they can to preserve this place and make it an attraction that you would want to go to. I am marketing it for everyone. If you ever go to Ekiti State, go to Ikogosi.
And you know what's coming up? The holiday is coming up. We just finished one holiday. Another one is coming up. Easter holidays just right around the corner. Students or children are going on holiday. I think a number of schools will be closing today, at least that I know in the Federal Capital Territory. So certainly I'm sure we can plan a trip around this, you know, a staycation of some sort, you know, to Ikogosi, a lovely cabin to stay in, you know, nature to explore, the mystery around it. What's not to love? Well, and for Lagosians who are stressed out from the traffic, this might just be what you need.
I hate that I'm laughing.
You know,
I'll be fuming.
I can't help myself. I can't help myself, Kila. You just talked about drinking the water. For those of you who have drank Gosi water, this is where it comes from. Yeah, it's one of those waters.
This is Gosi water.
Yeah, that's I mean, we're allowed to advertise.
They're not paying us.
They're not paying us.
But we're doing our best.
We're doing our best, you know. But the Ekiti State government cannot say we didn't do anything. The people of Ekiti too.
They cannot say we didn't do something for them. Yes, we have done something.
But hey, let's take you to Lagos, because, you know, Lagos has been in the news now for quite a while, and it's not for sceneries like this. It's for the, you know, the hardship that he had to go through 2 days ago. The traffic was legendary. You know, harrowing was how a lot of people described it. As at 1 a.m. on the 3rd of April, people were still talking about the traffic because they were stuck in it till the following morning. And we understand quite a number of people could not show up at work yesterday after they had been what they had been through on the 2nd of April.
They were there till morning.
They were there till morning, yes, Kayla. It is legendary indeed. But hey, Yesterday, we saw the governor of Lagos. Yes, yesterday morning, we saw the governor of Lagos State visit the site where the excavation was taking place, apologizing to Lagosians that the work had to be done. They apologized that they did not get enough information and perhaps there wasn't enough preparation to get people to divert through other routes, because what we understand was that a number of people did not even know that such a job was going on, and it's until they got to the point that they realized that such a job was going on. So the governor visited the site, cameras were there, we were live there. The governor, speaking and explaining to Lagosians why what happened, and taking full responsibility for it. But much later in the afternoon, we then saw the Minister of Works, because apparently that particular piece of infrastructure is a federal government infrastructure. Lagos is complex like that. Even within the city, you have quite a number of federal roads, designated federal government roads. And he said something which seemed to contrast with what the governor had said earlier. He said something about them closing up the pit in 3 days, and that the road should be ready for them to be able to use, and that contractors who had gotten to that site without permission were going to be sanctioned. But don't let me say it all to you. Listen to how it went down yesterday.
Victoria Island is locked down, closing hours on Wednesday as a result of the partial closure of the Independence Bridge. The closure was announced by the Federal Government of Works for urgent repairs. Motorists traveling from Ahmadu Bello and Adeola Odeku inwards Marina, Eko Bridge, Onikon and its environs were on standstill for several hours, affecting economic activities. Some residents who plied the route share their concerns, while others commend the authorities for swinging into action.
I was coming from Lekki to 1004 Estate. I take more than 4 hours to reach 1004 Estate yesterday, and now I just want to go to Semes to get some material to do my work, and I have to trek from 1004 to this body camp now. I'm looking to get towards TBS, whether I can get a bus. You can see how I'm sweating.
If they can make this other lane a two-way drive, so everyone don't have to use the access road, I mean, it will solve a lot of problems.
Our maintenance culture is not there, but now this is what we really want. They maintain the road as of when due, so that it will not cause havoc.
The situation has prompted the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to visit the area and apologize to citizens for the ugly situation. But he says the road cannot be reopened until the rehabilitation work is complete.
This apology is important so that we can take full responsibility as a government, both at the national and sub-national level, for just taking our citizens through an unfortunate incident. Given what they've done in the past 2 days, in my view, and from engineering conversation, makes it difficult to reverse it. So one of the things that we're going to see very quickly is that they're going to advance the work very quickly. They'll probably be working into the night, and to see how they can reduce the timeline from the 6-7 weeks that are planned to about 4 to 5 weeks.
He's appealing to the people to plan their movement to reduce gridlock.
Over the years, erosion has gone underneath and is sitting on nothing. So that is indeed an engineering disaster that is just waiting to happen. If you don't have a business to do in Victoria Island in the next 2 to 3 weeks, conduct your business via social media, via telephone, via meetings, Zoom meetings and online meetings, and plan ahead.
The state has also made arrangements for security operatives to be on ground to ensure safety of commuters.
He needs us to deploy more men than we deployed yesterday, and that is actually what they have done today. I want to assure you that I don't think it will never happen like that again, because we have enough men around the site and all across the state controlling the traffic, so that there will be no gridlock again.
The Minister of Works, David Umahi, who had earlier ordered the reopening of the bridge following widespread complaints about traffic congestion, also visits Lagos to see the situation of things at the Independence Bridge.
So what we are doing now is to restore the bridge temporarily within the next 3 days. By Sunday, this place will be totally open. And then after 2 weeks, we will look at the settlement. And then we will take out 3 days to put the permanent structure. We are going to vary the design. The design will be varied according to the emergency situation we found on ground. And the contractor is going to cooperate with us. I'm not going until the bridge is fully restored by Monday.
Motorists have been advised to use alternative routes provided by the state government and also cooperate with traffic management personnel on ground to ease movements.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. And to discuss it, we have with us this morning Mr. Onoha Nachi, who is a managing partner at DPH and also an infrastructure expert. Mr. Nachi, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Nigerians.
Well, I'm sure that you also watched with, I don't know, were you in Lagos by any means, by any chance? I hope you were not stuck in that traffic.
No, not at all.
But you must have heard about it.
Yeah, people spend at least up to 10 hours on traffic in a day, so 24 hours, what is left out of that for you? I've always been, it's one of the reasons why I don't live in Lagos, one of the traffic issues. Because I once did a calculation, if you live in Lagos for 50 years and you spend 4 hours traffic every day going to work and coming back, 10 years of your life was spent on traffic. So that you cannot account for.
What a calculation.
So that's
I agree.
that was that.
Well, I agree with this calculation.
I did the calculation and I came to that
what
calculation.
A calculation. I mean,
if you live in Lagos for 50 years,
yes,
and on the average you spent 4 hours, 2 hours going, 2 hours coming, 10 years of your life was spent on traffic. That shows how productive you can be.
I think it puts things in perspective for people. Interestingly, on radio, what else coming this morning, the conversation was about whether people would still want to live in Lagos in spite of what they've experienced. And the debate was quite fierce. There are those who say, look, I'll go back to Lagos in a heartbeat. There are those who say, I don't know what Lagosians are still doing in Lagos, you know. And I think it will always be mixed like that. But this morning, we're talking about infrastructure, which ultimately affects the quality of life. And basically what we saw on Wednesday, beg your pardon, was unprecedented, even by Lagos standards. Even Lagosians knew that there was something unusual, highly unusual about the traffic which they were experiencing. And it was because of a very small bridge somewhere between Victoria, somewhere, you know, linking the mainland with Victoria, or Lagos Island with Victoria Island. That bridge that, is along Amadu, the Independence Bridge along Amadu Bello Way. And some people say, oh, I didn't even know that that bridge, small as it is, was such an important piece of infrastructure. So do you think that this was as a result of improper planning? Do you think it was as a result of not enough information? What exactly, because what it really has caused the governor to come out and apologize is because of we've been seeing closures in Lagos. It's not the first time. Third Mainland Bridge has been closed, you know, a number of times. And we know, the people know, they're prepared ahead of time that this is the difficulty it's going to cause. So, you know, there are alternatives provided. In this instance, what do you think went wrong?
First, the planning wasn't proper enough. The information wasn't disseminated enough, so people find themselves in that place and got jammed. But at the same time, every road must have an alternative to it to make people walk around it. So when you have that alternative, definitely it becomes easier. So in this particular road, I think so many things went wrong. So you look at it from the part of the infrastructure planning of Lagos. And this is the time we start to review it. This is just a case in hand. And we also have to take into consideration the implications of this. In my office yesterday, the research team came up with a report, which was very stunning. That traffic alone disrupted about 3.8 million people out of
3.8 million
people out of productivity in Lagos. of a city that has about 22 million population, 3.8 million. Mark,
we're stuck in traffic doing
Take
nothing.
your calculator.
Yeah.
If the per hour ending is just 1,000 naira, you're talking about 38 billion lost immediately. If the per hour ending is 10,000, you're talking about 380 billion lost. That's economic loss of that. You can never recover it again. You can never recover it again. Maybe that planning would have just had a cost of 100 million. The information would have just been a cost of 100 million. But somebody sat in somewhere probably would assume, oh, we can't spend 100 million to just inform people. We can't spend. No, you're not spending it to inform people. You're spending it to avoid disaster. And because you didn't do it, the disaster now came. And it becomes so huge to deal with. So, and there's nothing new they're going to do. Is that planning that they failed to do that they have started doing since yesterday to correct it? The bridge cannot be opened in the next 7 days. The bridge cannot be used in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Is that what you think? Because that's not what the Minister of Works is saying.
The minister will never say that bridge can be used.
He said there were going to be temporary measures put in place.
But not that particular bridge to be used.
Okay.
Because when you recast, there's a curing period.
Yeah.
The minimum curing period for any concrete, irrespective of the chemical you use, is 21 days. So we know the realities that is right before then. Let anybody not play politics around it and quote it. But reality has to be said. But what is important is, in subsequent one, there should be proper planning, proper dissemination of information, and you take time. Sometimes diversion is not at the point. You start diversion from several kilometers away. But you don't wait for people to get to the place where they're supposed to turn. You tell them, no, you can't turn here, go straight. No. You start the diversion a distance away.
And I'm really just trying to imagine, because I mean, of course, I've been to Lagos. I lived in Lagos for a significant period of my life, and you know that road is also a road I'm very aware of. But I'm just trying. I'm still trying to figure out the exact spot. But if it is where I think it is, which is just before Bonny Island Camp, on your way to Ahmadu Bello going into VI.
Where you descend down.
Yeah, where you descend down. Yeah, either you're going to Zumba Umbadi way or you keep going straight to Ahmadu Bello. If it's just that portion that I think it is, it's a very strategic route.
Yeah.
And for a number of people, if you had to get there first before you were told to go back, that there is no road there, there are big questions as to just how poor the planning was, because what alternatives were there? Because they're not immediate alternatives.
To the end.
Yes, because they're not immediate alternatives. So I'm just thinking about it when you put these things in context, saying 3.8 million people were affected, and that if we were to look at the man-hours lost in the traffic, and also put a figure.
Kayla, you have your phone there.
And you also put a figure.
3.8 million, and multiply it with 1,000, and multiply with 10,000, it tells you the number.
And put a figure to, the man-hours lost. But I want to also look at it on this side, because some people will say, well, now we have technology, which we might not exactly put into context. So if, for instance, people are in vehicles and maybe they have to attend meetings, or they have to, and for one reason or the other, they're still able to continue what they want to do in spite of the traffic. How do we also calculate that?
How does that number look to you?
It's scary.
I see Kelly shaking.
No.
It's frightening. Yeah, it is frightening.
Very frightening.
But I'm just saying that, do you think that the impact of technology has also been taken into account when we look at it?
No, not at all. First and foremost, somebody that left his house never planned for that. Probably, I'll give you a typical example. I may say, when I get to the work, I charge my phone, I charge my devices.
That's true.
I have low battery, so I got stuck in that. There's nothing I can do. My phone may even die if I have nobody to talk to. That frustration alone, if it's somebody that is already on a suicide watch, can commit it there.
You know what? When I saw those cars in that gridlock, overheating.
So
I kept thinking about how many of those cars were in good condition to be able to handle the stress.
What about the pollution?
And the pollution at that area.
The environmental pollution.
And the weight of all of those cars
on the bridge
itself. So all of these things came together in my head, and I was thinking, there could have been so much more done in this situation. Well, we've seen the governor apologize. Everyone is apologizing because of the impact that this has had on Lagosians. But
Kayla,
going forward,
this is the place.
Going forward,
this is the place I don't like in this country. Please.
They should not apologize.
These apologies. It's like your driver will go and bash your car and tell you, I'm sorry. Hello, didn't you know what you were doing? Would that sorry fix the car? Will the sorry repair the economy that has been damaged? So people should be held responsible. Who was responsible for that act? Who authorized that repair without taking already... See, let me tell you.
Without sufficient information.
Let me tell you. I'm very familiar with Ministry of Works, Federal Ministry of Works. There are state controllers. There are directors. In Ministry of Works, they have directors of highway repairs and maintenance. There are state control. So there's a communication channel before you can do this. And there are media teams who will take this up. I'm not even taking Lagos State, for example. I'm taking the federal ministry. When you finish all these channels to get the approval for that work, you communicate to the resident states of what you want to do. So let me not deal and whine with the sorry. Can we find out where did we get it wrong? And who was responsible for it? The moment we start being accountable to ourselves, in the position we are holding, then it is better for us to know who has caused this 380 billion damage to Lagos economy and to Nigerian economy. Because there were people that were traveling outside the country, local, everybody got involved. Who was responsible for his or her own stupidity, ignorance, negligence? So until we get to that and says, okay, you did all this, this is the repercussion, you pay for it. If it's going to cost you losing your job, let's not bring this emotion. Oh, the economy is so high, this is not the time to make somebody lose. Hello, people have already lost their job because of that.
The traffic, that's just the truth.
So that's my take about it.
I mean, you have raised quite a number of perspectives on this particular issue. The fact that there needs to be accountability and that people need to take responsibility and that sorry is not enough. You've also raised the fact that, you know, it does appear that that bridge might not be ready until the next 3 weeks. Let me also take you up on the political aspect of things. Because yesterday we saw the governor apologize, you know, trying to take responsibility for it. Much later, we also heard from the Minister of Works, knowing that that is also a federal piece of infrastructure. Normally, we would see a little more coordination. I mean, if my memory serves me well, we've seen joint briefings between officials of the Lagos State government and also federal officials on, you know, work that will certainly affect Lagos as a whole, even if it's a federal piece of infrastructure. So one would have thought that we would have seen like a more joint coordination. At some point, when the governor briefed, I assumed it was it was the Lagos State government doing the job. Then much later, we heard, oh, because it's a federal piece of infrastructure, it was the federal government doing the job. And then, you know, we heard the minister saying we'll vary the design, we'll open one other side, you know, to make sure people are able to pass. And he's not going to leave Lagos until it is done. Politically speaking, do you think that there was something wrong with how their communication was passed across?
I wouldn't want to say politically, but I will first start from the administrative point. First, in every quarter or half year, every federal road to be maintained are captured in the Ministry of Works work plan. And that Ministry of Works plan, they have new roads to be, they have department for rehabilitations and maintenance, they have department for construction, they have department for bridge and bridge maintenance, they have department for design. These are departments I know that exist in Ministry of Works. So let's take this particular one, it's a bridge, so it's a federal bridge. So who falls onto, let's go to Department of Bridge. Was a design sent for these alterations for this? Yes. Who approved the design? Who did the costing? Who sent it? It's a sequence. So the administrative, when these things was finally agreed, was it awarded as a contract to a company? Who is that company? Was it to be done by direct labor by the ministry because the ministry has the capacity to do it? Can we know? When we now know this, okay, did you tell Lagos State that you're going to do this? Show us the memo, the letter you sent. If you did, how many notice days did you give to them? If you've given them this work will start in 60 days, in 90 days, they should communicate and set up a traffic management scheme. Then we know you've done your part. So it's Lagos State. Now, getting to Lagos State, did you do this? So the administrative skill is where I'm still focusing. Political, no.
There's this board that they usually put up whenever a construction is going on that gives you the details. of what the construction is,
Yeah.
how long it's going to take, who's the person in charge of the construction.
The project charter.
The project charter. Well, one of the things that we noticed yesterday, one of the things that we heard yesterday was that that wasn't even located anywhere. So it was a surprise when everyone came and saw what was going on. Who should be held responsible for that little bit? Because that is where the issue of diversions actually even starts, because they place it kilometers away from the situation days before the work starts.
So if the ministry was doing this job as a direct labor, it's the ministry that provided the project charter. That project charter will say who is the client, who is the supervisor, who is this, who is that, who is that. Everything will be run over. But if it was awarded as a contractor, and the contractor will provide his project charter, who says this contract was awarded by Federal Ministry of Works, supervised by so and so consultant, and every other thing. But there's certain information me and you don't know. And the Honorable Minister, my brother, is a workaholic. He knows the work. He's passionate for the work. But he can't peel himself into pieces. He may have been somewhere else, but the subordinates that are engaged, that are directors, these are the administrative workers. These are the bureaucratic engine room. And they are professionals to do this.
You do support when he says that there will be consequences?
Yeah, there should be, not the...
You know, when you're talking about all of the after effects, you're talking about pollution, you're talking about, you know, I was thinking about the fuel. When I heard, you know, how many hours people were stuck in traffic for, I said, with which petrol? The one we're buying at almost 1,000 naira per liter?
Well, everyone will turn off the engine, wind their glass open.
No, but you want your AC on
in that heat. Wind it up and just come out and chill.
It is, you know, it is just mind-boggling just how much. Because what you have talked about
you're looking at this one.
Yeah.
You not imagine the robbery that took place in that place.
Yeah, so yesterday we also saw...
excessive robbery.
We also heard, you know, the security, what they call that, the security agencies come up, especially the police, you know, come up to say, henceforth, they will be deploying more men. Because it does appear that even they too were taken unawares.
Yeah.
So, really, when we look at the cost, because what you have only looked at is the cost is a loss in terms of man hours, in terms of productivity, and if you had to put a figure to that, this is what it might most likely amount to. But in terms of how much petrol people burnt without, you know, planning to, how much people lost in traffic owing to robbery and all those kinds of things, and the effect of that on them, you know, it doesn't appear that we've really put a cost to that, have we?
Yeah, it's so high. And I saw a social media video, a big van that were doing delivery of cooked food and all that. It got stuck in that traffic, and after 4 hours, they feel the food were getting bad. They just open it up to share. That's a private business. How would that business survive? Is there any mechanism by government to cushion the effect of such a person? Such an empire? You know, that's why private sector is just too difficult in this country, because such person will lose the entire circle.
And there's no compensation for the damages that you faced because of this.
There's nothing. And this is one. Talk about other people. This is just the one I saw. And there may be hundreds of such.
Is there a way for government to take on this kind of things and to say, look, we need to provide a cushion? If when days like this occur, we should be able to find ways to, you know, not just say sorry, not just punish the person who caused it through negligence.
Can someone seek redress right now?
Yeah,
like that woman with the food in the car. I'm going to sue. You give me back my money.
Because it's not just giving back money now, but there's also the reputational damage. Yeah. You were asked to supply something, you didn't deliver.
It's a change. The receiver at the other end has disappointed somebody else.
Yes.
Maybe somebody that's supposed to come to the restaurants and eat and has booked a lunch. So that person did not eat lunch, so he did not work very well. Something. It's a chain. It's a chain. I think going forward, government should make their process very clear and get the citizens informed. When they fail to do that, there should be consequences too. The typical Americans will say, what get measured, get done. Consequences is what I believe in. If I get it wrong, please give me the punishment. I hate to say sorry. I don't. I'd rather just say, okay, what did I do? What can I do different? And we'll deal with it. if I'm your staff, if you're going to deduct my salary and don't pay for 1 month, it's only when I feel it that I won't try it next time. But when you don't feel it, there's only 2 things that human natures obey. That's why you see developed nations are compliance. There's only 2 things. Anything that affects your finance and anything that affects your freedom. Once consequences deals with your finance and deals with your freedom, you will obey those consequences, you will avoid them. Freedom, you're thrown in jail. Yeah, finances. So why do you think people obey traffic in America and all over the world?
Consequences.
Consequences. I can go to jail if I run this red light. I can go to jail if I just jam a pole. We are easy to say this sorry. Somebody will go to the club, party, drink. On his way home, he will look at a street light and bash into it. We'll come and say, sorry that he didn't die. Hey, yeah, something is wrong mentally. As a nation, we begin to address it. The moment you take that person who bashed into that pool to jail and he pays a fine, he remembers the consequences. He won't do it next. Because 1, it has stopped me from having a light to have my visibility. It has cost so many things. So
consequences. I think that, that is certainly resonating from your submission. But I also want to ask you whether you think that there's anything that, we should look at in terms of infrastructure development in Lagos with regards to federal government and state government coordination.
We in our office, as part of what to do social responsibilities, every year we organize infrastructure dialogue where we bring experts to let's sit down and discuss. And this year we've already set it up. It's coming up next week, Thursday, in Yaradua Center, which has been the place we do it. And we're focusing on energy and agriculture infrastructures, how we can readdress those issues. Now, as related to Lagos, there should always be conversation on Lagos infrastructure. A constant conversation with those that are developing it, those that are using it, those that are guiding it by their policy, and the government itself. And this should be applicable to every state and to the nation as general. That's why most times, there was a time one of the infrastructure dialogue we did was focused on railway. And we brought the MD of Nigerian Railway and the Minister of Transport, then it was Amechi, and we started, questions were being asked. Questions were being asked. I told him, can I ask you a question? The law of the railway industry was established in 1958. How do you use a law of 1958 to run an industry that is modern today? That conversation led to National Assembly to start work on it. That conversation led to so many things. So if you don't engage this, now, like that road, that road that they're doing is the only diversion that brings you out to Third Mainland Bridge where you can even go back. And there's no any other one. It's either you take the other bridge, so it's far away. So when you begin to hold such a dialogue, you begin to hold such a conversation, the stakeholders must have a platform where they meet and talk. So it will help.
That certainly helps. Well, I have to thank you. We have to thank you very much, Mr. Onoha, who is a managing partner at DPH and is also an infrastructure expert. Thank you so much for your submissions this morning.
Thank you.
Well, we will take a break and we'll be back shortly because Lagos was one of the things that happened. All eyes were also on Kogi and subsequently, much later, at INEC, who eventually spoke up on the recall attempt by alleged members of Senator Natasha's constituency. We'll be looking at that a little more when we come back from this break. Well, what a week it has been. Well, taking a look at some of the highlights of the news of the week with former presidential spokesperson, Mr. Laolu Akonde. Mr. Akonde, it's good to see you this beautiful Friday morning.
Good morning. Good to see you guys.
Yes, morning.
I should have been on some
red too, you know, give you a touch of red as well. But hey, what a week. Will we say it was a red letter week? I don't know. For those watching from Edo State, for those watching from Kogi, what were your expectations, and were there any surprises from what you had seen throughout the week with regards to the news that came with regards to Senator Natasha's attempt at her recall, and then also the news from the tribunal in Kogi State? I beg your pardon, in Edo State.
In Edo State, yeah. For me, I think it's it's what somebody has described as the Natasha hurricane in Kogi that stands. That was Abraham Ogodo, by the way. In his article this morning, he said that it's the Natasha hurricane. I'm just impressed, you know, by the boldness of this lady. I refuse her to be intimidated, the courage that she has demonstrated, and the fact that she has set an example for the comatose Nigerian opposition. To say that, look, if you really want to resist, if you really want to make your voice heard, there's a very decent, proper, you know, even innovative way to fight. And she's inspiring a lot of people by her resilience. And that, for me, is the biggest story of the week.
Indeed. I mean, because when you look at her dramatic visit to her hometown in Kogi State, I mean, this was before we even... And it came on the heels of this recall process that, you know, some people had tried to ignite, but looks like it has not been put page 2 by INEC. We can see the visuals now, that visit by helicopter in the wake of the Kogi State government, you know, saying they had put a ban on rallies, they had put no movement, no go zone, no convoys, no this, no that, but they did not put restriction on movement by air.
Exactly.
And lo and behold, you know, she arrived in a helicopter. I had to sing on the program. They never saw her coming.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. The woman is just continuing to show you know, I want us to say this with a lot of responsibility, the very lowliness of the Nigerian political elite, especially a lot of all these men. And it's just a shame, you know, that they don't know how to manage things properly, prudently. You know, people who get up to the level of leadership at the level where they are, they ought to know how to do things properly. But because of the level of impunity, the disregard for the feelings of the people, and the fact that a lot of them aspire and get to political position of authority without commensurate following, without real legitimacy. That's why they behave in this very...
Did you hear the response of the Kogi State government to it? They were on a sister program, and I think they were talking about, it was Politics Today, they were talking about how what did they say now? That she still broke the law. They had put a ban on rallies, and they tried to remain defiant, you know?
They should be ashamed of themselves, you know. First of all, to have to make a regulation just against one woman. You know, I really don't know where these people came from.
They said it wasn't about her.
Oh,
they continue to claim that.
And that's the thing.
Something happened in Kogi West. They did. They said something happened in Kogi West. There was violence, you know. So they figured, you know, let us find a way to protect our citizens
with a curfew,
with a curfew, and you know, those sort of things. I think with Natasha's story, and I'm going to get your thoughts on this as well.
Right.
You see, we saw a story that polarized this country in many ways. You were either for or against Natasha. And then her ability to stand firm throughout each phase of what's going on. It's still not Uhuru for her, by the way.
True.
Because one of the questions that we heard yesterday was, is it possible that they might actually start an actual recall process again? We don't know if that can happen again. But her ability to stand through everything that's been happening. Yesterday, they were asking her about 2027.
Yeah.
And she said it depends on the consultations, and if she was going to, you know, run again would be if God wants that to happen, you know. But I want to be able to get your thoughts on the testing of a female in political office and her ability to stand through things that should have literally crushed her.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a very important point because when you look at what had happened and what the Nigerian people had seen, you know, you would think that everything is weighed against her. And that's why I said initially that she has shown a lot of courage, she has shown a lot of resilience, audacity, boldness, innovation. And I am personally encouraged that indeed, if the people, if some of these political leaders want to fight, they know exactly how to fight. If they want to fight back, they know exactly what to do. What I don't understand is why we don't have any compelling opposition, even in the National Assembly itself, or the country in general. You know, you just have a bunch of political leaders who are just reduce themselves to talking heads, you know, not doing anything to really get some traction. So, for instance, the president, you know, assumed powers outside of his constraint under the law to suspend a governor. And the thing has to go to the National Assembly, and the political opposition was just busy talking about stuff like that, doing nothing, not even calling their own lawmakers together, not organizing, not trying to resist. The only thing you have is just a few lawmakers who walked away. Natasha has shown that if they really want to fight, they know what to do. The question is, why are they not fighting for the interest of the Nigerian people? That's the big question that I'm trying to find out.
Two issues, Mr. Laolu, and I want to, if we can wrap it up as quickly as possible. Two issues. One of the questions that people have for Natasha is, how do you prove sexual harassment? You know, we heard yesterday where she said, oh, soon. These are things that are in court. How do you prove sexual harassment? And then secondly, the accusation that her actions, the meetings that she's going, the places where she's speaking, Senator Natasha, in many ways could be embarrassing the country, embarrassing our Senate, making us look bad. I want you to be able to speak to those two issues when it comes to these questions Senator Natasha has been asked.
Okay, so let me start from the second one. The Nigerian Senate deserve to be embarrassed. You know, they deserve to be embarrassed because they don't know, you know, they don't. I think it was Senator Fadausi who tried to speak a little bit of sense in the video that went viral when he was saying that, you know, we need to understand where we are. You know, this is not a place for joking. So they deserve to be embarrassed, you know. So that's the question to that. On the question of whether or not she could prove the allegation of sexual harassment, she gave a very, you know, very correct and apt answer to say that when we get to that bridge, she will show it. And we shouldn't bother ourselves so much about the proof, because indeed there ought to be a panel or a court. The Senate had a committee on ethics, you know, where they should have, you know, taken her to and asked her in that place to prove the point. She doesn't have I mean, she's not compelled to give the evidence if she has it in the public court. No, all she needed to do in the public court is to cry out like she has done that, hey, I am a subject of sexual harassment. It is the panel that should have said, all right, you know, bring your evidence or in court. So even asking her really, you know, whether she has evidence at this point is not necessary. The point is that she has made an allegation. Let us give her, they ought to have given her an opportunity to prove it or for them to disprove what she has said. Instead of that, what we see is a bunch of men ganging up together against one lady.
It does paint a bad picture of the Senate, doesn't it?
Totally, completely.
And the National Assembly in general. And you said something right now. You said they deserved to be embarrassed.
Yeah, the Senate deserves to be embarrassed.
Some people may not agree with that, but however, is there a way this Senate can come out of this situation looking good? Is there some sort of rebranding mindset they should have? Is there some kind of plan they should have in place to remove this image that they are not women friendly? Because this has been something going on. It's not just about Senator Natasha. The women bills, the protests, and we've seen all of these things going on. Is there some way that this Senate can restore the faith that the Nigerian women, it's not about the women that are going to visit you in your office and give you, tell you that they like you. The Nigerian women, is there a way to get them to gain our trust again?
Well, it's to retrace their steps, and that is still very possible. You know, if cooler heads were to prevail, some of us try to call their attention at the very beginning of this talk to say that, look, don't manage this thing this way. This is what you ought to do. So yes, they can regain the situation. They can get a good handle on it by retracing their steps. If the woman has alleged sexual harassment, don't make an issue of the fact that she moved from one seat to the other, and then don't go and suspend her outside of your own rules. While it is even illegal to suspend a senator, courts have proved, your own rule says the maximum is 14 days. Guess what you did? 6 months. Who are these people?
Well, I think that particular issue, you know, that came up, we still need to ask the Senate about it, but we do know that, you know, just before Senator Natasha was suspended, Senator Abdul Ningi was also suspended for 3 months. Right. And, you know, we understand he was recalled just before the 3 months was about to be up. Was when he was recalled. So we called back to the Senate. Right. It's not, how will I put it now? It does appear that everybody who has, you know, enjoyed that 14 days maximum suspension has had to challenge the Senate in the court. Yeah. So perhaps we also need to hear very clearly from them, right, you know, why it is that they keep going outside of the 14 days and, you know,
their own rules.
Well, exactly, their own rules, and even what the law, from what we understand, the law permits. But let me take you up, because this issue of the recall, right? The visit to Kogi was happening within the context also of the recall. Do you think that is what has influenced INEC's decision, or do you think INEC would have arrived here anyway? Because there'll be questions as to the people who wanted to recall her, or they're the same people who went to joyously welcome her. You know, so there are big questions around that area. But we now saw that INEC did a rather very thorough, painstaking work to say, well, we've counted all the signatures you have here. It doesn't meet the threshold. You need 50% plus one to be able to recall a senator. What you have here is about 43% or so. It's not meeting the threshold. Right. So do you think that that visit to Kogi forced INEC's hands to reach the decision that they did?
Well, you know, I think in this particular instance, INEC did the right thing, and they did it, you know, quite elegantly, to say that, look, the first thing that we're supposed to do is to even look at the numbers, you know, in line with our regulations and the law, you know. So I don't think it was so much because of the fact that she then showed her strength, you know, and popularity. I think we should give INEC the credit that it came out, and you know, they explained. You know, I think Mr. Lumekun and of course Rotimi Uyekomi explained clearly that, look, we just followed, you know, what was presented, and we made a determination. I'm not sure that we could say that it was because of the visit, but hey, in terms of the image, you know, the woman managed to show clearly that she had what we can call the organic support of our people. And when they were doing the so-called recall process, we saw that some of the people that were supposed to be recalling her didn't even know why they were called them, and they were getting paid for stuff that they thought was empowerment or some palliatives. So you know, we know that this recall thing was basically procured, you know, organized by two gentlemen who are supposed to know better.
But put pay down to this particular process, we should hear nothing more of this, should we?
Well, you know, I read sometimes after Natasha's interview yesterday with Shehu that, you know, some people are going to try and do it again, that they're not going to give up. It's just all procured. I don't expect that it will, it shouldn't, you know, I mean, people of goodwill should come out and support Natasha, because Natasha has become, at least for now, the face of the Nigerian opposition. You know, any kind of, she has shown how to stand up and stand up and resist, you know, and I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed by what she has done.
I saw an article yesterday, Mark, where they said there's nothing more dangerous than an organic politician.
Yeah. Ibrahim Bodo called it Natasha hurricane, and I think it is indeed an hurricane.
Well, I think even the best pundits will never have seen the transformation of this particular case, of this matter. What started as a matter of defiance in the Senate, moving over to sexual harassment, and then, now moving over to resistance and, maintaining her position. I don't think anyone would have seen that. But quickly, I want you to talk about Edo, right. And the, the politics, the tribunal. Did you anticipate the results?
Well, I think that in terms of expectations, quite a number of people, both in Edo and outside, were expecting a different outcome for this tribunal. And you see, it's essentially a question of who has been able to influence the public narrative. It will seem that the PDP people and the and their team, the PDP gubernatorial candidate, it seems they've been able to create expectations that indeed, PDP won that election, to the extent that many people were hoping that, the tribunal will rule in a different way. But the tribunal has come out to say that, look, I mean, it is not enough to say that it's not enough for you to make claims and say that the document, made this kind of disclosure, that you ought to have also supported that, which is a little bit of, there's still a bit of confusion that if you have documentary evidence that is clear, why is it that you can't stick with that? But hey, APC has, they are enjoying their victory. I really don't know what is happening so much in Edo State, because I've not paid so much attention to it. But I think that at least the petitioners, the PDP, they still have one or two more other
hurdles. And we've heard from Mr. Aswe Godalo that he's certainly going to pursue it at the Court of Appeal. Yeah. But we're just hearing now the breaking news coming in now that the Supreme Court has set aside a judgment recognizing Mr. Julius Abure as the Labour Party's national chairman. This is some news coming in now, breaking news coming in. The Supreme Court setting aside the judgment recognizing Mr. Julius Abure as the Labour Party's national chairman. We understand that in a unanimous judgment, a 5-member panel of the Apex Court held that the Court of Appeal lacked the jurisdiction to have pronounced Mr. Abure national chairman of the Labour Party after finding out earlier that the substance of the case was about the party's leadership. The Apex Court held that the issue of leadership was an internal affair of a party over which courts lacked jurisdiction. So we're hearing this now. They said the court further allowed the appeal filed by Senator Esther Nanade Osman and one other and held that it was meritorious. It also proceeded to dismiss the cross-appeal filed by the Abure group of the Labour Party for being unmeritorious. You are a pundit. You're listening to this breaking news. The Supreme Court setting aside judgment recognizing Abure as Labour Party's national chairman and maintaining that the issue of leadership within a political party is an internal party
Court shouldn't be ruling on it.
Court should not be ruling on it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the Supreme Court has been consistent on that point. That was the point they made also in the PDP National Secretary's case. And I think it's good. I mean,
which seemed to have left more confusion than clarity, really, in the PDP's case.
So if you follow the principle, they are just saying that whatever the party says, the party does have organs. So that's why I'm saying that, look, whatever the party says, it's the party's business to determine who its leaders are, which is the same point that the Supreme Court ruling has affirmed. And I think it is good. It is good for our politics today that that Abure, is being asked to step aside because Abure has made a mess of the reputation of Labour Party. It's so sad. I mean, look at the showing that Labour Party gave, especially in Lagos in 2023. And for the party leaders to completely mess up all of that, it's so it's very disappointing.
We still need to take a look at what happened in Lagos. I mean, not just Lagos, what happened with the Labour Party?
Yeah.
You know, how did the momentum from the Labour Party, how did they lose that momentum? There are big questions to be, and I think it'd be worth any political scientist or analyst, you know, taking the pains to look at what has happened to the decline of the Labour Party. Certainly not the candidate, though. But hey, Mr. Laolu Akonde, it's always a pleasure speaking with you on Sunrise City. Thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much.
We have two messages. This one is from Professor Enakena talking about the petition to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. He says, the petition to recall Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan representing Kogi Central Senatorial District was rejected by INEC because it did not meet the constitutional requirement outlined in Section 69A of the Nigerian Constitution. The section mandates that a recall petition must be endorsed by more than half of the registered voters in the senator's constituency. I hope we didn't say anything contrary.
Pastor Law, no, we did not. He says those who were hell-bent on recalling Senator Natasha ought to have been thorough, I think he's trying to say, before approaching INEC with the petition. As it stands now, they've shamefully lost the battle. Kogi State government's directive on security seems to be a sham.
Well, it's a fine place to leave today's discussion. We have enjoyed being with you all of this week, and we hope to do that next week as well. So keep a date with us next week at 9 a.m. Thank you for watching. I'm Maupe Ogunyusi. Have a good weekend.
And I'm Kayla Megwa. Have a wonderful day ahead.